Our story begins at a place called the Sharp Soldier's Forge on a beautiful day. Suddenly, the door bursts open and a young man is thrown out with great force by a big guy. The black-haired boy kneels, begging for forgiveness, but our protagonist seems to be used to it by now. Losing his patience, the huge man starts bonking the young man on the head with a kitchen ladle. This guy is Fatty Sun, the head cook, and he tells everyone to hurry up with the master's food. Then he praises a boy named Nuguy for being very hardworking and calls the others trash. The young men agree without complaining while our protagonist just watches everything with a bored look on his face. We see that the black-haired boy is completely tired of his daily routine in this place. Out of nowhere, the head cook turns to the young man and yells, asking if he doesn't want to eat. Our hero is quickly startled by the scolding and agrees to get to work right away. Because he was startled, he ends up dropping all the firewood he was holding onto the ground. Later that night, the boy is alone and says that tomorrow will be his big day of change. For now, he decides he will endure all this exploitation and wait for what's to come. The next day, a gentleman gives the young man 30 copper coins and tells him to be back before sunset. The boy runs off, super excited to finally be able to leave that place after a month. The boy is finally free and looks at the big city with a smile on his face. He thinks about the ceremony that requires the 5 sacrificial animals, but the blood is very expensive. The boy then remembers that he can't use an ox because it's against the law, and the punishment would be very severe. After a while, he gets the blood of other animals but has spent 26 copper coins. Carrying his purchases, the hero walks down a street and stops in front of a place called Liang's Fishery. There, he hears a crowd talking about a boy who caught a spirit fish in Jade Lake. Our protagonist is confused since a fish like that could feed a family for years. A muscular man shows off the fish, which weighs 12 jin, and tells everyone to back off because it's very expensive. Someone offers 12 silver taels, leaving the young man shocked by the value, which is a fortune. After seeing that, the boy decides to go home, following the memories of the body's previous owner. He arrives at a door and knocks a little until a voice asks if it's the third brother who has returned. The door opens and his second brother, Lilin, greets him happily and invites him inside. The older brother tells him to rest and that he will prepare food because his sister-in-law is working. The boy is relieved that his brother didn't insist on talking with him for too long. Alone in the courtyard, the protagonist is finally home after so much time working at the forge. In his home's courtyard, the young man finds the perfect spot to begin his secret ritual. With a bucket in hand, he prepares to use all the blood he bought earlier in the city. The boy begins to pour the liquid on the ground to perform the ceremony of the 5 sacrificial animals. After a while, the formation circle is ready, and he says that he has practiced this many times. The disciple Li Zhou begins to recite an incantation to start his grand plan. He then kneels before the circle and humbly prays for his ordination from the Sky Swallower. After a few seconds, he realizes nothing has happened and wonders if he failed for not reading the scriptures. Disappointed, the boy falls to the ground, yelling and crying over all the money he wasted for nothing. Suddenly, a sharp headache hits him, and a red aura starts to come out of his body. Kneeling on the ground, the young man feels an unbearable pain as strange markings appear on his arm. Amidst all this red energy, a dark and demonic-looking figure appears right behind him. The boy covers his ears, trying to block a sound that only he can hear, but it's useless. The pain gets stronger and stronger, and the boy writhes as pink energy rays surround him. Suddenly, he stands up with his eyes glowing red, and a tail appears behind him. However, the power is too much for his body, and he ends up passing out on the courtyard floor. Passed out on the ground, our protagonist seems to be in a very deep trance-like state. Inside his mind, a strange form begins to manifest in a very bizarre way. This form expands, and he is completely confused, wondering what on earth that is. The boy then begins to float on a wave of this dark and very mysterious substance. With a confused expression, he tries to understand the crazy situation he has gotten himself into. Suddenly, the young man spots a giant object that looks like an ancient seal scroll. He continues to float in the darkness toward this giant and very strange scroll. The dark substance completely envelops him, and the boy starts to scream in pain and despair. Now he is falling into a dark, endless abyss while desperately screaming for help. A bright figure suddenly appears amidst a powerful red yin-yang symbol. Meanwhile, strange dark markings begin to appear on the protagonist's neck. A futuristic interface appears in front of him with the words loading and initial authorization. In the real world, his brother comes out with a tray of food and sees him passed out in the courtyard. Startled by the scene, the older brother ends up dropping the food tray on the ground. The food scatters across the floor as he runs to help his little brother who is down. The brother holds him desperately while the sister-in-law runs over to help, worried about what happened. Slowly, the black-haired boy begins to open his eyes and finally wakes up from his faint. Sitting up, he looks at his brother and sister-in-law who seem relieved that he woke up okay. The older brother is happy, and the young man says he's fine and needs to go back to the forge shop. As his brother advises him to rest, a strange blue screen appears in front of him out of nowhere. The screen shows that he's become an armament soldier, and the young man is shocked to have a real system. In his mind, a flood of information rushes in, along with a strong desire to wield a sword. The system shows that to evolve, he needs very expensive materials, which makes him thoughtful. He says goodbye to the couple, saying he needs to earn money and will be back home in a few days. The boy lies about a technique so as not to worry them and now wants to test his new secret power. Back at the forge shop, he goes to the middle courtyard where the other apprentices are training. Looking at the weapons, he feels a strong urge to start using his new master ability. With a very determined look, our hero walks toward the group training in the courtyard. Everyone stops what they're doing and falls completely silent, watching the young man approach. A master explains the 6 harmonies of the Whiteup's cloak hammer technique to everyone. The red-haired master strikes one of the apprentices to correct his posture during training. The young man cries out in pain from the hard blow he received from his instructor in the middle of the courtyard. The master explains that with unstable feet, his strikes will always be very weak and useless. To enter the inner courtyard, one must master the art of the hammer, and our hero thinks he's cruel. The instructor then tells everyone to grab their hammers and assume the horse stance to train. Our hero's system analyzes the training hammer and shows all the information about it. He gets excited about the power of the ceremony and decides to calm down so he doesn't draw attention there. The master demonstrates a move, and the boy compares it to animal imitation styles. Later, the master talks with the head cook about the difficulty of mastering the horse stance. The cook then asks the master, named Chun, which of the young apprentices have the most potential. Fatty's son walks with Master Chun and comments on the boys from poorer families there. Then, the cook yells at the apprentices, telling them to train hard without being lazy. With a very strange smile on his face, the head cook seems to be up to something. Our hero notices the way the fat guy is looking at him and feels that something is wrong. At the end of the day, the boy is exhausted and thinks to himself that he won't be able to take it much longer. The boy complains that the horse stance uses too much energy and his body is too weak to handle it. Looking around, he sees several apprentices passed out and realizes that only he and New Guy are still standing. New Gui watches with a serious look as our hero finally gives up on the tough training. With a proud smile, he sits on the ground, thinking he's the big shot of the middle courtyard. Later that night, the moon is high in the sky, and a lantern illuminates the dark place. The young man goes over to the training hammers and picks one up to test his system without anyone noticing. He discovers that out of the 43 hammers, only a dozen are adept level and stronger. Searching carefully, he finds the darkest colored hammer and believes it's the best of them all. With his new weapon in hand, he prepares to use his secret ability with determination. The boy then concentrates and uses his power to wield the hammer he chose for the test. Suddenly, the giant tool vanishes into thin air, and the young man is completely shocked by what happened. Inside his system, he sees that the platform is small and can only store a few weapons at a time. Now he can summon the hammer at any moment with a simple thought and great ease. The boy uses his power to connect to a giant seal as other weapons appear around it. Out of nowhere, he feels the same headache as before and wonders why it's happening again. Inside his mind, the system forces him to practice repeatedly, and he's shocked by the function. Now he understands all the details of the horse stance, from his feet to his arms and his gaze. The next day, the rooster crows loudly, announcing the start of another morning of hard work. New Gui wakes up with back and waist pain from the previous day's heavy training. As he steps out, he finds our hero already up and moving his fingers in a very strange way. Surprised, New Gui shouts and asks when he woke up, suspecting the boy trained all night. The young man smiles and says he just woke up, leaving New Gui confused by his infectious energy. New Gui thinks he has too much energy and concludes that the boy wouldn't have the guts to train in secret. With a confident smile, the black-haired boy thinks that New Gui will never be able to understand him. Later that day, he continues his daily chores at the forge shop with renewed spirits. While carrying firewood, he realizes he didn't become super strong overnight as he had hoped. However, his control over his strength is on another level, and he can feel the entire flow of power. The young man then clenches his fist, determined to enter the inner courtyard to train for real. Master Kun announces that today he will teach the hammer technique and tells everyone to grab their weapons. The apprentices complain about the stance training because they can barely eat and can't take it anymore. Our hero then grabs the heavy iron hammer that he stored in his system the night before. With a confident smile, he feels a special connection to the weapon as if it were a part of him. One of the instructors yells at the apprentices to take the training seriously and stop messing around. A curious boy asks Brother Lu how long it usually takes to reach the novice level. Master Kun explains that an average person takes half a year and calls New Guy to demonstrate the first form. Our protagonist reaffirms to himself his goal of entering the inner courtyard as quickly as possible. The instructor corrects a young man's posture, and the black-haired boy notices he's almost there. Holding his hammer firmly, our hero decides it's time to try using the technique. He executes a perfect move with the hammer, releasing an impressive wave of blue energy. The other apprentices and Brother Lu are completely shocked by his demonstration of power. Far away, the head cook invites Master Kun for a drink with him in a small room. The master refuses more drinks, saying he needs to go back and check on the young apprentice's training. The cook then comments on a rumor about a new shop in another province, and the master is surprised. Fatty's son mentions a dangerous guy known as a venomous dragon from the Divine Weapon Valley. He quickly plays it down and asks Master Kun not forget him if any opportunities come up at the shop. With a serious expression, Master Kun pays attention to the conversation about the young apprentice. Fatty's son points to the boy and asks if that's Li Lin's younger brother training there. Meanwhile, our hero smiles while holding his hammer, and the other apprentices are completely confused. Master Kyun praises the boy, saying his talent with the hammer is an incredible natural gift. The other instructor is completely confused by Master Kyun's reaction, who turns his back and leaves. He wonders if the young apprentice offended Master Kyun in some way for him to leave like that. The sun sets on the horizon and another day of intense training finally comes to an end. Back in the weapon storage, our hero looks for something else to test his power. He then finds a woodcutter's axe and is surprised he hadn't seen it there before. His system analyzes the object and classifies it as a lower-level, unranked item. After so much training, he gets really hungry and realizes he needs to find a way to make money. With that in mind, the young man decides to go into the city and stops in front of a busy butcher's shop. Inside, he spends a little of his money to buy a piece of meat to eat. Seeing the butcher's cleaver, our hero approaches and asks if he can take a look. The man agrees without any problem and hands his tool over for the boy to examine calmly. Holding the cleaver, the system analyzes it as a common meat knife with no power grade. With a smile on his face, he asks the butcher if he can sell the knife to him. The man offers it for 1 kyan, and our hero accepts the offer right away without hesitation. Running through the street, he returns to the shop, all excited with his new purchase and a piece of meat. With a golden glow around him, he celebrates having gotten a new weapon to use. Inside his system, he sees that the boning knife has replaced the training hammer in the registry. The boy thinks about the swap and realizes his system has a limit on the number of weapons it can store. He panics when he realizes he needs to upgrade the registry to be able to command more weapons. That night, the head cook relaxes in a hot bath while the boy complains about the conditions. Suddenly, the fat man calls our protagonist's name, which is Li Yuan, and beckons him over. The cook then tells him to go get some more hot water for his relaxing bath. While pouring the water, the fat guy says it's a shame he's good with the hammer, and the young man asks why. He explains that the fortress bear likes everything, but what he loves most in life are women. The man says they have a woman with the surname Niu, and the boy is very surprised by this information. With a serious face, the protagonist immediately wonders if this woman is related to Niu Guy. The cook explains that Chunxiang doesn't normally teach martial arts to the shop's apprentices. Our hero just nods in silence as he continues to pour hot water into the man's bath. The fat guy reveals that Niu Guy joined the middle courtyard because each outer courtyard got 1 spot. Back in his room, the young man mentally thanks head cook Sun for his advice. The cook asks if he's resentful for not getting into the inner courtyard, and he denies it. The man then says that the white ape's hammer art wouldn't be passed down to him so easily. Our protagonist is shocked and asks if the version he learned isn't the complete one. Fatty Sun explains that without the complete method, it would take 3 to 5 years to reach the novice level. The boy starts massaging the man's back and feels just how strong the cook really is. With tears in his eyes, he realizes that the man's body is incredibly tough and muscular. The cook assesses the boy's constitution as average, but with bones that are still a bit weak. The young man offers to learn how to cook from him and is surprised by the fat guy's skills. Fatty Sun laughs and says he's smart for wanting to eat some extra food since the courtyard's food is bad. With a cute smile, our hero agrees and says he's also good at manual labor and cooks well. The cook is surprised and asks if it's true, and the young man nods his head, all excited. With a cleaver in hand, our hero prepares to show off his culinary skills to the chief. He grabs a handful of fresh herbs to use in preparing the food for the head cook. With quick and precise movements, he begins to chop the herbs with the kitchen cleaver. Fatty Sun watches him closely and asks how many years he's been doing manual labor like that. The young man replies that it's been a few years but thinks about how his past life helped him with it. He then bows, says he just wants to eat well, and is at head cook Sun's command. The fat man smiles with a sly look as he assesses the sincerity of the boy in front of him. He agrees to have him as an assistant, and the young man wonders how he knows about his brother's money. The cook then decides to teach him the white ape's breathing method to improve. Our protagonist's eyes shine with happiness for the incredible opportunity he just got. Outside in the courtyard, he trains the hammer technique and thanks the head cook for his help. Several months pass and winter arrives, bringing the cold and snow to the forge shop. The city streets are covered in snow, but people continue their lives as usual. Our hero, now stronger, walks through the city and plans to reach the novice level soon. Because of his skill with math, he was put in charge of purchasing for the middle courtyard. At a street stall, he is surprised to find a shoe for sale along with the meats and fish. The shoe seems to be of good quality despite being a bit worn and dirty from time. The vendor explains that he took the broken shoe from some random guy, and the young man laughs at the situation. With his shopping basket, he picks up the shoe to analyze it with his system and see if it's worth it. He is shocked to discover that it's a Tier 1 boot, the first tiered weapon he has found. The vendor offers the boot for 1 kyan of silver, but our hero thinks the price is too high. Seeing that he's about to leave, the vendor panics and says they can negotiate a better price. The young man then pretends to be interested in the spices, and the vendor offers the boot for free with the purchase. He accepts the deal but thinks to himself that he tricked the vendor to get what he wanted. The snow-covered roof of a house marks the end of another day of shopping for the kitchen. Running through an alley, our hero is eager to test out his new and powerful acquisition. With a golden glow, he uses his power to wield the boot he bought at the market stall. In his system, he now has the boot, the hammer, and the knife as his registered weapons. With a smile on his face, he holds the powerful boot and wonders if having just one will have any effect. Suddenly, the boot multiplies, and now he has a complete pair ready to be used in battle. Running at high speed, the boy tests the boot's power and is surprised by how fast he has become. With his eyes shining with excitement, he decides he needs to upgrade his system as soon as possible. Suddenly, he hears someone shout the name Liang A. Shuan stops in the middle of the alley to see what's going on. He follows the sound and finds a crowd gathered, wondering if the guy caught another spirit fish. A man explains that Liang A. Shui caught 3 spirit fish and joined a martial arts school. Our hero observes the crowd and recognizes Master Kyun among all the people there. The master approaches Liang A. Shui and offers to buy the rare fish he caught. The young man is disappointed that he didn't find any fishing-related weapons to use. Seeing that it's still early, he decides to go home and rest after a long day of shopping. Arriving home, he finds his older brother clearing snow from the front of the door with a shovel. His brother is happy to see him back, and the boy greets him with a smile on his face. He shows off the cured fish he bought on the way home as a gift for his family. The older brother praises him for getting stronger and invites him to eat the meat together. He then says he made a winter coat for the boy and tells him to try it on to see if it fits. Surprised, our hero asks where he got the money, since a coat like that is very expensive. The older brother explains that he cut extra firewood and used his sister-in-law's salary to buy the coat. He insists that the boy accept the gift, and our hero puts on the new coat to please him. With a smile, the brother pats his head and comments on how fast he has grown. With a serious expression, our protagonist looks down, thoughtful about his family's situation. He then asks his brother directly if he borrowed money from someone for the coat. The older brother is surprised and asks who told him about the loan from Fatty. Looking out the window, he takes a deep breath and prepares to tell his brother the whole truth. He confesses that he borrowed money at high interest, but that the family still has savings. Our hero says that he doesn't need to borrow money because of him and feels guilty. The sister-in-law enters the room, and the boy greets her with respect and a bit of shame. We see that the woman's hands are full of sores from the hard work she does. She tells him to take the coat with him, and our hero thanks her for the gift and her kindness. The older brother notices his wife's injured hands and offers to get hot water for her. The young man says goodbye, saying he ate at noon, but the sister-in-law insists he eat before he goes. He runs off at high speed, and the older brother sighs, impressed with his quickness. The snow falls gently on the roof as our hero walks back to the forge shop. He thinks about the loan shark Chun Bao and how his brother managed to pay off the debt despite being a simple person. The young man worries about the danger of high-interest loans and hopes nothing bad happens. He decides he needs to reach the entry level with the hammer to improve and earn money. That night, the full moon illuminates the snow-covered sky as the boy prepares to train. He practices the breathing method that Fatty's son taught him and finds the technique very tiring. Using his system, he swaps the boots for the training hammer to continue his nightly practice. Wielding the hammer, he begins to train the movements of the white ape technique with full force. He spins the hammer, creating a whirlwind of wind and snow around him with great skill. The noise of the training wakes up the head cook, who is sleeping peacefully in his room. Annoyed, the man comes out to see who is making so much noise and disturbing people's sleep. He is surprised to see our hero training alone in the middle of the night with such dedication. The boy senses the cook's presence and notices that his perception has become much more sensitive. With wide eyes, he is surprised to realize that the breathing method really worked. Now he feels the blood flowing through his body and is eager to test his technique on someone. With a smile, the head cook calls him inside to have a late-night snack. Our hero is surprised by the invitation and even more so that Fatty's son called him by his name. The fat man serves him a medicinal wine, saying he needs to replenish his body's energy. He forces him to drink, and the boy doesn't understand the head cook's sudden change in attitude. The fat guy asks how he reached the entry level so quickly with an average constitution. He says the spot for the inner courtyard should be his, and the boy thinks about how it all happened. With a smile, he asks if the spot isn't reserved for new guy, whom everyone knows. Fatty's son encourages him to fight for the spot, but the young man is afraid of offending Master Chen. The man then reveals that Kyun Xiang is about to awaken his internal energy and become a chief. He says the shop's rules must be followed and that Kyun Xiang can't just do whatever he wants. Our protagonist is confused because he remembers Fatty's son flattering Master Kyun before. The cook advises him to fight for his place because without support, he won't get very far. He says the choice is the boy's, but that he saw his talent and decided to give him some advice. The young man thanks him for the advice, and the two toast with the medicinal wine at the kitchen table. After drinking, the head cook falls asleep and starts snoring very loudly in his chair. Leaving the kitchen, our hero opens the door to his room, ready to train all night. With his body warm from the medicinal wine, he feels that he has finally advanced in his cultivation. He trains all night and wakes up refreshed, ready to stack the hammer strikes with perfection. The next morning, he goes out with his hammer, ready for another day of hard training in the courtyard. New guy watches him and realizes he lied about not training, calling him cunning for it. With a furious look, he shouts Leon's name, determined to challenge him to a duel. The boy calls him out for a fight, but our hero doesn't seem the least bit interested in the challenge. He refuses the fight and walks away, leaving New Guy furious and embarrassed by the rejection. Suddenly, head cook appears and says someone is looking for him in the shop's courtyard. New Guy thinks he refused out of fear, and our hero wonders if his brother came back. Fatty Sun says they are bailiffs and asks if he hasn't been up to any trouble. Two officers approach, and one of them introduces himself as Chu Dai, investigating a criminal case. Our protagonist is shocked by the news and fears that something terrible has happened to his brother. The officer tells him to answer the questions without hiding anything to help with the investigation. He then asks if the boy remembers a spice vendor named Lu San at the market. The boy is relieved to learn that the investigation has nothing to do with his older brother. He confirms that he bought spices from the vendor, but the officer asks if that was all. Officer Chu Dai stares at him with a suspicious look, seemingly not fully believing his words. Fatty Sun intervenes and says he sent the young man to buy the ingredients and has a record of everything. Satisfied with the answers, the officer concludes the questioning and says he's heading to the next location. The head cook says a polite goodbye as the officers leave the shop's courtyard. Our hero is surprised by the fat guy's attitude, who defended him in front of the bailiffs. Fatty Sun says the officer is stubborn and that the criminal case has nothing to do with the boy. He reveals that the vendor's entire family was taken out of the picture, along with his 5 neighbors. The cook says that more than 10 people were taken out of the picture and that the city is under martial law. With wide eyes, our hero wonders if the crime has something to do with the boots he bought. He is shocked at the idea that someone would do all that for a pair of old, worn-out boots. Fatty Sun yells at him to get back to work, and the young man is startled by the sudden shout. The boy runs off through the snow to continue his daily chores in the Ford shop's kitchen. Officer Chu Da comments that the boy is hiding something, and his partner suggests interrogating him. The officer says he can't arrest anyone without proof, but his partner reminds him of the martial law. He says the empire was founded on martial arts and that the imperial court needs to maintain order. The partner warns him that Liang Aishui is very talented and is about to be sent to another valley. The officer is surprised by the news of the Divine Weapon Valley but soon starts laughing loudly. He says the empire rules the world alongside the sects and that the law must be upheld. The officers head to the martial arts school to continue their investigation into the case. In a dark place, an injured man in torn clothes hides in the shadows, afraid. With eyes glowing with anger, he glares at the man on the floor and complains about his clothes and shoes. He starts to rough up the fallen man with great force and aggression, showing no mercy. The injured man stops the attack, saying he can't finish him off just yet because he needs clues. With a vengeful look, he swears he will make everyone pay when he recovers from his injuries. He then leaves the dark place and hides behind the door so as not to be seen by anyone. Peeking through the crack, he observes his surroundings with a look full of hatred and a thirst for revenge. He swears he will get revenge on whoever dared to take his things and that he won't rest until he does. That night, the moon illuminates the snow-covered roofs of the Ford shop and the city. In his room, he holds the boot and wonders if it hides some kind of important secret. He begins to inspect the boot carefully but finds nothing special or different about it. Without meaning to, he accidentally tears the boot and is shocked to have ruined his precious item. However, he notices that there's something hidden inside the torn sole of the boot. He finds a martial arts manual hidden in the sole of the boot and is very surprised. The manual teaches a battle hammer technique from the Divine Weapon Valley, and he is shocked. Now he understands why the vendor and the others were taken out of the picture because of this boot. He realizes that the criminal knows the boot is with him and that he might be being watched. The manual describes the battle hammer technique and says it cannot be taught to outsiders. He discovers that the manual is incomplete and that the boot only contained half of the secret technique. The boy complains about it being another hammer technique, but acknowledges that it's one of the strongest. Since he is being hunted, he decides he has no choice but to learn the technique to defend himself. The city lockdown lasts for more than 2 months but is eventually lifted before the new year. In a dark alley, the same injured man from before hides, shivering from cold and pain. With injured hands, he struggles to survive in the city as the snow continues to fall. The injured man wonders how there can be so many internal energy masters in such a small place. He remembers a blow that almost took him out of the picture and decides it's better to leave. His bloody hand touches the shoulder of a skeleton lying on the ground. He steps on the skeleton and walks out the door with a look of contempt and indifference to the scene. In the city, fireworks light up the night sky in celebration of the approaching New Year. Meanwhile, the injured man continues to hide in the ruins of a building, shivering from the cold. Elsewhere, a young man complains about the heavy snow and says he has no desire to leave the house. Shivering from the cold, he hugs himself to try to warm up a bit in the middle of the strong blizzard. He is impressed by the dedication of those who train non-stop, even in the freezing weather outside. The young man then goes out into the snow and begins to train with his sword, making quick and precise movements. Elsewhere, Nuga trains with his hammer in the middle of the snow, determined to get stronger. He shouts excitedly, announcing that he has finally reached the entry level in the technique. The other apprentices congratulate him on the achievement and express their envy of his rapid progress. They ask Nuga not to forget them when he enters the inner courtyard and praise him. One of them comments about our hero, and Nugui doubts that he has reached the entry level. The snow continues to fall on the roofs of the forge shop, creating a winter landscape. One of the apprentices tells the others to get back to work and thinks about distancing himself from the commoners. New Gui decides he needs to tell his brother-in-law that he has reached the entry level in the technique. He then decides to go check out our hero to see what he's doing in the courtyard. Arriving there, he finds the door ajar and decides to peek in to see what's happening. With his eye to the crack, he tries to see what our protagonist is up to all alone in there. He is surprised to see a snowman holding a hammer in the middle of the snow-covered courtyard. Nyugui opens the door, startled, thinking our hero froze to death in the middle of the cold. Suddenly, the snowman explodes in a cloud of snow, revealing our hero in the middle of it. He spins in the air with his hammer, creating a whirlwind of snow around him with great force. Nyugui is impressed by the demonstration of power and skill from his rival in the courtyard. He is completely shocked and speechless, wondering what on earth is happening there. Our hero continues to train his hammer movements with impressive and swift agility. He leaps into the air and delivers a powerful blow with his hammer, showing his mastery of the technique. Nyugui is stunned to realize that Liyuan has mastered the white ape's cloak hammer technique. Shocked by the scene, Nyugui runs to tell his brother-in-law about our hero's progress. Meanwhile, the boy thinks about how to improve his technique, and the cook reminds him of a debt. He asks to borrow more money from Fatty's son, but the man tells him to get lost right away. With a cute smile, he promises he will pay it all back and tries to convince the cook. The fat guy says he only lends it because he's progressing and asks how much he needs this time. Fatty's son is furious with the amount of 13 taels and threatens to hit him with his kitchen ladles. The young man asks about a commotion in the city, and the cook explains about an ambush at the shop. He is surprised to learn that the general manager captured the attacker, but the disciples had a bad time. Suddenly, Master Chun arrives and calls our hero over to talk with him in private. The boy notices that the master is even stronger and more muscular than before and follows him. Master Chun praises him for his remarkable talent, and the young man says he was well taught by him. He says the spot should be his but that he already promised it to Nyugui and asks if he minds. The boy says he wouldn't dare, and the master corrects him, saying that should not be his answer. He then promises that next year's spot will be his and dismisses him to continue his training. Leaving the room, our hero smiles, thinking about how he made some good connections that year. Nyugui says he can wait a year, but Master Kyun scolds him for his lack of ambition. He reveals that the Divine Weapon Valley will open its gates next year, and the shop has invested a lot in it. The master says that Nyugui's talent is superior to our hero's, and that he can enter the valley. He hands Nyugui a vial to help him in his training and encourages him to continue. Nyugui is excited about the chance to enter the Divine Weapon Valley, and the master encourages him to train. Our hero thinks about Master Kyun and wonders if Fatty's son will be able to handle him in the future. He decides to go to the market to try his luck and find a tiered weapon to use in his system. At the market, he sees several powerful weapons but laments that none of them are his to use. He then spots an old man and a young boy selling animal pelts and a very peculiar scythe. Curious, he approaches and asks the old man how much he wants for the scythe he is selling. The old man refuses to sell, saying the scythe was a gift from his grandfather and has sentimental value. Our hero asks to take a look, and the old man warns him to be careful as the scythe is sharp. Upon holding the scythe, he realizes that it's a tiered weapon and gets excited about the discovery. The system analyzes the scythe and reveals that it was forged with high-quality black gold iron. He is shocked to discover that the scythe is even better than the boot and grants a powerful technique. He gets excited to find out that the scythe grants mastery in long weapons, a rare skill. With his eyes shining, he offers 3 taels for the scythe, and the old man is shocked by the amount. In a dark, snow-covered alley, he prepares to test his new and powerful weapon. He wields the scythe with a golden glow and adds it to his system's weapon registry. Since he has already mastered the hammer technique, he decides to replace the training hammer with the scythe. He uses his power to connect to the golden seal, but something strange happens this time. With wide eyes, he feels a wave of information suddenly flood his mind. He falls to his knees, feeling intense pain, and wonders what on earth is happening to him. Sitting on the ground, he wipes the blood from his nose and says the sensation was incredible and powerful. He celebrates having mastered the scythe technique instantly and feels very lucky. Now with new skills, he wonders if he's strong enough to defeat Master Kin yet. He hears his sister-in-law complaining about his and his brother's debts and feels a little guilty. He picks up a wooden staff and tests it to see if it's sturdy enough for his plan. Satisfied with the staff's solidity, he prepares to put his plan into action that night. He trains with the staff and decides that if the thugs attack him, he will fight with everything he's got. With a mischievous smile, he prepares to put his plan of revenge into action that night. He climbs onto the snow-covered roof and opens a crack to spy on what's happening inside. Sitting on the roof, he watches Qianbao's house, waiting for the right moment to strike. Inside, Qianbao's men are having dinner and talking about their boss's interest in our hero's sister-in-law. Furious, he discovers that Qianbao used to be a worker for his family and now has bad intentions towards his sister-in-law. 2 of the men go out to use the restroom, and our hero sees the perfect opportunity to attack. He is disgusted to see the 2 men relieving themselves together in the snow and prepares for the attack. He leaps from the roof and flies towards the 2 men who are distracted and vulnerable. With a precise strike, he hits both men with his staff, leaving them unconscious in the snow. He wipes his nose and feels satisfied with the result of his successful surprise attack. One of the men comes out and calls for the other two, wondering where they've been for so long. Our hero attacks him with the staff and knocks him to the ground with a strong and precise blow to the head. The noise draws the attention of the other men, who come running out to see what's happening. Our protagonist covers his face and prepares to face the group of men approaching. The gang leader glares at him angrily and challenges him for daring to cause trouble on his turf. Without hesitation, our hero attacks the group of men with his staff and defeats them with ease. He storms the house and takes down all the henchmen who try to stop him from advancing inside. With all the henchmen on the ground, he mocks them for being so weak even though they outnumbered him. The gang leader, fallen on the ground, asks who he is and curses him for attacking him by surprise. The boy holds the staff firmly and prepares to teach the gang leader a lesson. With a powerful blow, he hits the man in the head, leaving him dizzy and confused from the impact. The boss groans in pain as blood trickles from his mouth after the boy's well-aimed strike. Furious, our hero begins to rough up the man lying on the ground with his staff without mercy. He spins and hits all the fallen men with his staff, leaving a trail of destruction. The gang leader's face is all bruised, and he seems to have lost consciousness in the snow. The boy is surprised by the strength of his legs but quickly focuses on his main objective. He storms into the house and starts breaking everything in search of something important he needs to find. After ransacking the house, he finally finds a hidden chest and opens it with a smile. He opens the chest carefully to see what's inside and is surprised by what he finds there. Inside the chest, he finds several documents and begins to read them with attention and curiosity. Furious, he rips up all the loan documents and vows to teach the loan shark a lesson. With a mischievous smile, he takes all the money from the chest as a reluctant agent of justice. He runs off with his weapons and the money from the chest before anyone sees him at the scene. He flees the scene with a smile on his face, leaving the henchman lying in the snow. He reassures himself, thinking that no one saw him and that it can all be considered self-defense. With a determined look, he warns the gang leader to never cross his path again. He feels good about being a good person and doing good deeds to help those in need. The snow begins to fall gently from the night sky as he walks back to the shop. Looking at the moon, he feels at peace and ready for whatever the future holds for him. He feels confident that he is about to ascend and become a powerful Daoist master. He practices his Kwai and blood technique and thinks about how he can speed up his cultivation progress. Fatty Sun hits him with a box and hands him the medicinal meals he had requested earlier. He swears to pay the cook back and says he'll be faster than the others at mastering the technique. The fat guy warns him to be back in time for the exam, and our hero feels guilty for roughing up the thugs. He asks his brother about Qian Bao's parents and pours a drink for the two of them to talk. The brother says it was Chun Xiang who told him about the recruitment of apprentices at the forge. Our hero realizes that Chun Xiang is keeping an eye on his brother and sister-in-law and decides not to give up on the exam. He takes a sip of the drink and feels refreshed and more determined to protect his family. With a furious look, he slams the cup on the table and vows that he will get into the inner courtyard no matter what. He plans to use the money to upgrade his weapon mastery and defeat Chun Xiang easily. Master Chum seems suspicious of the young man's attitude and watches him with a serious look. New Guy says that Liang Aishui has disappeared, and the master doesn't believe he could be the culprit. Master Kyun says he has taught New Guy the exam and expects him not to disappoint in the test. The day of the exam arrives and our hero walks with Fatty Sun through the snow-covered streets. He hears some apprentices commenting on the absence of Wang Gong, the son of the third shopkeeper. Fatty Sun explains that some were added at the last minute and that they don't count towards the quota. He warns him that the third test's been changed to an assessment of bone quality, and that could be a problem. The young man realizes that Master Kyun probably pulled some strings to change the test suddenly. Fatty Sun advises him to do his best, and our hero promises he won't let him down. The apprentices gather in the courtyard for the start of the inner courtyard exam at the forge shop. The shopkeepers watch the apprentices from above as the exam for the inner courtyard begins. The three shopkeepers of the weapon forge observe the participants with attention and seriousness. The first shopkeeper, Tang Tong, tells Chun Xiang to announce the exam rules to everyone present. He explains that the inner courtyard offers many benefits and that everyone will receive a reward. Master Kun calls for those who have already reached the entry level in the hammer technique to step forward. He gets annoyed seeing our hero present himself and questions why he showed up. He announces that everyone will have to undergo a bone assessment to be admitted to the courtyard. Several muscular men carry heavy iron blocks for the exam's strength test. Master Chun tells each one to choose a hammer and strike the iron ingot to show their skill. Our hero prepares for the test with his hammer alongside other apprentices and a girl. With a powerful move, he stumps on the ground and prepares to show his strength in the test. He spins the hammer and strikes the iron block with a precise and energy-filled blow. The strike releases a wave of golden energy, and everyone is shocked by his display of power. Master Chun's eyes go wide as he realizes our hero's level of mastery. Shopkeeper Cao Yan is also impressed with the young man's skill and watches him with interest. He continues to strike the iron block with full force, showing his mastery with the hammer. The first shopkeeper recognizes that he has achieved lesser mastery and is impressed with his skill. Shopkeeper Tao Yan tells Kun Sheng to get out of the way, and the master is shocked by the sudden order. He can't believe the boy achieved lesser mastery in such a short time and with weak bones. Our hero continues to strike the iron with his hammer, releasing a powerful golden energy. Fatty's son celebrates the young man's achievement and yells that he did very well on the strength test. The boy combines the mastery of the training hammer with the cloak technique and achieves lesser mastery. He leaps into the air, ready for the next test of the inner courtyard exam at the forge shop. Looking down, he realizes that something is wrong and panics at the unexpected situation. Nugui watches him from a distance and prepares for whatever comes next in the exam. He steps into the snow and prepares to attack with his hammer, showing his own skill. With a clenched fist, he focuses to unleash all his power in the next attack. He advances toward our hero with his hammer ready for a direct and decisive confrontation. Our hero smiles confidently and thinks that Master Kun is surprised that he has tricks up his sleeve. The first shopkeeper praises the boy for his rapid progress and asks for his name. Fatty's son is proud to have taught the breathing method to our hero, Li Yuan. The first shopkeeper praises the boy's talent and says he should place first in the assessment. The third shopkeeper suggests that guard Chun teach him, but the first shopkeeper disagrees with the idea. He bows and accepts the manager's order, but our hero is suspicious of his intentions. The second shopkeeper gives him the choice between having guard Kun as a master or going to the courtyard. Our hero chooses to go to the inner courtyard, and Master Kun glares at him with a look of contempt. The first shopkeeper says he will test him personally in 7 days, and the boy thanks him. He tells him to get his constitution checked, and the boy agrees with a simple nod. Master Kun watches him from a distance with a furious and resentful look towards the young man. In the forge room, several men work hard in the heat of the furnaces to create weapons. An old master assesses the boy's constitution is below average and squeezes him tightly. Another man confirms the assessment, and our hero feels the strength of the old master's grip. He asks how constitution is judged, and the old man explains that it's all a matter of experience. He invites him to join the forge room, and our hero asks to see the warehouse first. Since he placed first, the old man agrees to let him take a look and takes him to choose a hammer. Nugui watches our hero from a distance and vows that he will surpass him with lots of training and dedication. The old master takes him to the weapon warehouse to choose a hammer and registers it with his name. The guards open the huge warehouse gates, and they enter the place filled with weapons. The old man follows him, and the boy feels the strong reaction from his weapon mastery system. He follows the master into the warehouse, eager to see the weapons stored there. The warehouse is filled with swords, and the old man explains about the 2 most famous types from the forge. With his eyes shining, our hero is sure that he will find several tiered weapons in there. The old man shows him a rare jade saber and warns him to be careful with its sharp blade. The boy holds the saber carefully, and the old master tests it by cutting his own finger on the blade. Blood drips down the saber, and the old man praises the weapon's quality with a satisfied smile. He boasts about being the blacksmith who gave every inch of that saber its unique pattern. The system analyzes the jade saber and classifies it as a Tier 1 weapon with 3 effects. The old master encourages him to learn forging, and the boy asks about the hammers he mentioned. The master takes him to another section of the warehouse where the hammers are stored on shelves. The young man realizes that the old man took him the long way around to show off the jade saber. The old master challenges him to pick his hammer and promises to give it to him if he gets it right on the first try. Without hesitation, he chooses a hammer, and the system analyzes it as a Tier 2 weapon with 4 effects. The old man is shocked and asks how he chose the right hammer, and the boy says it was intuition. The master laughs and says it's a great coincidence and that they must be destined to meet. The young man takes advantage of the situation and asks to learn the art of forging from the old master. He is excited about the chance to become an apprentice to the best blacksmith in the forge shop. The old master looks at him with a serious gaze and evaluates the young man before him with attention. He agrees to teach him, and the boy thanks him for being so well thought of by the master blacksmith. The old master helps the boy up, calls him his good apprentice, and invites him for a walk through the warehouse. As they walk, the master reveals that the workshop is going to expand and asks if he's ever heard of the Divine Weapon Valley. The boy thinks to himself that he's not only heard of it but has also learned one of its 5 great secret arts, the battle hammer. He explains that the valley is an important sect with a 1,000-year history, and the young man wonders if the court can't control them. The old man reveals that all the military commanders come from there, so the imperial court can't do anything, and the boy is shocked. Next, he says that in the coming spring, the valley will open its gates to everyone and asks if the boy understands what he's getting at. Alone, the protagonist realizes that Master Chun knew about this, and that's why he wanted Nu Gui in the inner courtyard, so he needs to evolve. Fatty's son greets him excitedly, offering to cook something special, and Leon notices the cook's attitude has improved. The cook asks not to be called chief but brother's son, and the boy agrees on the spot and offers to help in the kitchen. Fatty's son comments that getting into the valley would be a huge leap in life, and the boy promises to help him in the future if he needs anything. With that, he asks for help getting gold and raw iron, and the cook is surprised, asking where all the money came from. After a moment of reflection, the cook faces the young man with a serious look and finally agrees to help him with his request. A few days later, the snow continues to fall, marking the passage of time in the city as life goes on as usual in the workshop. In a room, Master Chun talks with another man who complains that the thief still hasn't been caught by the local authorities. Master Chun comments that the magistrate is annoyed with the situation and has already ordered several searches to find this Nian Jew. The man suggests investigating Leon's brother for doing business with Chun Bao and also mentions the master blacksmith Zhang Ben. Chun then reveals that someone pawned a 100 silver tael note for 93 taels at a pawn shop. The other man is completely shocked and very surprised to hear this unexpected information from Master Chun. Chun thinks the thief was cautious, using a fool for the dirty work, and says the lead goes nowhere for now. Then the master asks new guy if he's found out anything, and the boy says Leon spends all day at the forge and doesn't have the nerve for anything. With that, Master Chun gets up from the table and tells Officer Chu that he won't bother him anymore for today and leaves. The officer thinks that Chun seems tough, but deep down, he's just a coward and that even with power, he'll never change his ways. At that moment, a guard runs in and reports that a man named Yu Zhen wants to see the magistrate at the Yamen Gate. The officer wonders if the criminal Nian Jew is still in the city, so he stands up determined and decides to go check. Back in the forge room, our protagonist locks the door so he can use his system in peace without anyone to bother him. He gets excited, thinking that Fatty Sun got what he asked for, and that now there's no more time to waste with his plan. With a powerful golden aura emanating from his body, the boy prepares to use the materials and evolve his system. The system screen shows that he has reached level 2 of Weapon Master and can now wield 2 weapons at the same time. In his mind, he sees his weapons being processed and celebrates that he can finally use the powerful hammer of the great artisan. Back in the real world, a huge chain hammer appears, and he wonders if this is a hidden benefit of level 2. With a confident smile, he thinks that this is much more convenient and wonders if there are other benefits to advancing. He then manages to wield both hammers at the same time, and his system confirms that the action was a total success. With a glint in his eyes and a look of satisfaction, he tells himself that his goal has finally been completed. He feels as if he has already been forging for decades and realizes that the power difference to level 2 is truly enormous. Fatty-san says his brother-in-law is happy with him, and the boy replies that the master sent a fighting manual through another brother. The cook is shocked that he hasn't started practicing yet, and the young man says he was just praising him to the heavens. While the boy reads the manual, Fatty-san explains that a fighting method is difficult and that the master only gave him 7 days. The cook then grabs a hammer, all excited, and says that the next day he will teach him personally, no excuses. Our hero says it's not that hard, and the cook is shocked, remembering that it took him 3 years to learn the method. Without any effort, he then kicks the hammer up from the ground with his foot, showing that he has already mastered the basic technique from the manual. With his hammers, the boy creates a whirlwind and says that the fighting technique is actually quite simple. The cook is stunned, remembering that it took him 3 long years to master this fighting method. He then drops the bucket on the floor in amazement and wonders if the boy is really just learning this now. With a startled face, Fatty-san thinks that he has seen many talented apprentices, but this young man's talent is surreal. The boy approaches and asks for help with the internal harmonies, and the cook despairs at the speed of his progress. Shocked, he calls the boy a monster for already wanting to learn the harmonies, and Leon realizes he might have said too much. Unexpectedly, Master Chun appears at the door and calls our hero by name for a private conversation. With a suspicious look, the young man already imagines that this conversation with the master won't be good for him. He then agrees to go with a grumpy face while Fatty-san just watches the scene in silence, a little worried. Next, the master leads him away, and the two walk together through the snow-covered courtyard of the forge workshop. They arrive at a courtyard where several apprentices are training hard while an unknown man watches the training. Our protagonist gets curious and wonders who that white-haired man talking to the second manager is. We then find out that the man's name is Yu Zhen, and he is known to everyone as the fearsome Ghost Rider. The second manager greets the man, and the boy thinks that this old man never shows up in the courtyard and wonders what he wants. The manager asks what he is doing there, and Leon is shocked to discover that he is a legendary bounty hunter. Yu Zhen says he is only there to ask the boy a few questions, and Leon already imagines the topic is the boots. Manager Tang gets angry and questions if he has no respect for the workshop, barging in like that. The snow continues to fall heavily on the courtyard roof, creating a tense atmosphere for the conversation taking place. With a smirk, Yu Zhen starts to walk beside Leon through the courtyard while the other apprentices watch. He then apologizes to Manager Tang and explains that he only followed a lead one of the guards at the entrance gave him. Master Chun says that Yu Zhen is in town hunting a criminal and that the workshop will, of course, help with the investigation. With a serious look, Manager Tang turns to our hero and asks if he heard what the master said. Yu Zhen reveals that half a year ago, he accepted a bounty to capture a bandit and tracked him to the city. He says the bandit is from the evil path and that his presence has even alerted the Divine Weapon Valley, so he must be caught. The boy confirms that he was at Lu Shan's stall the day before, but only bought some spices there. Suddenly, the young man's mind gets fuzzy, and he realizes the bounty hunter is trying to hypnotize him. He manages to resist and thinks that the man seems nice but is rotten on the inside, and that was a close call. With a sinister look, the bounty hunter insists and asks again if the boy is really not going to eat. Under the effect of the hypnosis, our hero begins to confess and says that he also bought half a pound of cured meat at the stall. Seeing the scene, Manager Tang becomes furious and yells Yuzham's name to stop the hypnosis immediately. The boy wakes up confused, not understanding what happened, while the manager steps in front of him to protect him. Then, with a swift movement, Manager Tang attacks the bounty hunter with his powerful golden spear. Yuzhen dodges the blow with his sword, creating a whirlwind of purple energy to defend against the surprise attack. He then quickly retreats, creating shockwaves on the courtyard floor to get away from the furious manager. With a smirk, he compliments Manager Tang's spear technique, acknowledging his opponent's strength. Our protagonist is impressed by the display of power and wonders if that was the so-called internal energy. The bounty hunter then praises the green serpent spear, saying that it is truly formidable in battle. Tang also acknowledges the fame of the jade saber and apologizes, saying that the hunt for the bandit is urgent. With that, the bounty hunter turns and leaves the courtyard, leaving the manager and the boy behind. The manager then turns to his apprentice and comments that old Tang taught him very well all this time. The manager dismisses everyone except for Yun Jin and our hero, while the other apprentices look at him with admiration. Inside the room, the manager reveals that his hand was poisoned, that it will take 2 or 3 months to fully recover. A purple poison mark spreads across the manager's palm, showing the severity of the injury he sustained. The other apprentice asks why he attacked since Yu Zhen was about to leave, and the manager clenches his injured hand in anger. With a furious look, he says he wouldn't be able to face his grandfather in the underworld if he had let the bounty hunter go. The boy promises that he will remember the teachings, thinks that if he weren't strong enough, he would have been controlled. The manager explains that Yu Zhen's art isn't really a martial art, but a type of drug that numbs the mind. He then scolds the young man for having such weak mental fortitude despite his history, and the boy feels ashamed. The manager tells them both to go rest and begins to meditate to try and heal himself from the poison in his body. In the forge, the old master praises the boy's work, saying that he has improved very quickly and only lacks the right material. With a proud look, the master thinks that it was worth transferring Kyun Sheng away to give the boy a chance. The young man finds out that Kyun Sheng was sent to a mountain, and Fatty-san explains that the general manager sent him there. With a wide smile, the cook says that anyone else who betrayed the workshop wouldn't have gotten away with a simple transfer. Fatty-san asks if he is going to a fair at the temple, but the boy says he needs to train because he is improving very fast. The cook laughs and tells him to go home and take a shower while he continues his training with the hammer in the courtyard. Back in his room, our protagonist opens the door and prepares to continue his secret training with his weapons. He then draws a jade sword that glows with a blue aura, and his system identifies it as a level 1 weapon. The boy analyzes the weapon and realizes that it's not as good as the others his master has stored in the warehouse. He realizes he needs to advance his forging technique, and that the final hammer variations are very difficult to learn. Even so, he managed to master the first attack move and now wonders if he can already challenge Kyun Sheng. At night, the city streets are crowded and lit by lanterns for a big festival that is taking place. Walking through the crowd, the protagonist feels his system vibrate and wonders how many good weapons are around. He then comes across a procession carrying a huge covered treasure and thinks about stealing it for his system. The people pray to the statue, asking for favorable weather and good harvests, while men carry it with effort. Amidst fireworks, coins are thrown as offerings, and our hero watches everything with a suspicious look. The statue is revealed to be a golden Buddha with many eyes, and the boy is disgusted by the bizarre scene in front of him. His system analyzes the object and classifies it as a level 2 stone statue with spiritual properties. The boy is shocked to discover that a divine statue can be considered a weapon and finds it somewhat heretical. He feels tempted to take the item but ends up giving up on the idea, thinking it would be too much for him at the moment. Walking through the fair, his system identifies several level 1 weapons, and he concludes that the level 2 ones are too expensive. On a notice board, he sees that the reward for capturing the criminal Nianju has increased considerably. The crowd moves towards a large city gate under a beautiful night sky full of fireworks. With a determined look, our hero decides to go to a mysterious place called the Temple of the Crippled God. There, he finds another covered statue being carried and suspects that it might also be a powerful weapon. As expected, his system confirms that this one is also a level 2 weapon, surprising the boy once again. He then begins to suspect that the statues are maintained by someone very powerful, like the imperial court itself. Suddenly, a blind old man approaches with a banner and offers to read the young man's fortune in the middle of the crowd. The protagonist just smirks with a clever look, as he has already understood the man's true intention. He mocks the fortune teller, who recognizes him as a newcomer from the forge workshop and praises his sharp perception. The boy then realizes that he is surrounded by several men and that he has fallen into an ambush in the middle of the festival. The blind fortune teller says they have been after the target for half a year and just want some information from our hero. The boy replies that he doesn't even know what this Nianju looks like and fears they have the wrong person. The man explains that the criminal has already appeared twice in the city, while one of the henchmen already wants to get rough. With a threatening tone, the group's leader agrees with something the young man said, leaving him very confused. Then the blind man says that he will indeed have a bloody disaster, and the brute gets ready to attack the boy. Seeing them move away, the boy realizes that the group of men is really after the shoe he bought. Night falls and a strong storm begins to take over the city, creating the perfect atmosphere for a plan. Hiding in the rain, our hero prepares to put his idea into practice and get rid of the henchman. He then throws the boot over the wall and shouts to the men that since they forgot it, he's returning it. One of the henchmen complains about the rock, and upon seeing the shoe, the young man runs, thinking he needs to get back the item he bought. Running in the rain, he decides he needs to get stronger and enter the Divine Weapon Valley to solve his problems. In his office, an officer complains that he was hit with precision, and his subordinate reports on the quality boot. The officer then picks up the shoe to examine it closely and notices that there is something hidden inside the sole. Very carefully, he begins to remove a small piece of paper that was stuck to the inside of the shoe. He complains that the handwriting is awful and can barely read the note, which seems to have a very secret message. The man thinks the thrower is skilled and wonders how a simple boot could attract the criminal. He then decides to investigate further and starts to tear the sole of the boot to see if he can find any more clues. With the sole completely removed, he looks inside the boot with a serious and concentrated expression on the mystery. He concludes that Nianju didn't leave because of the boot, and that the thief wants to use them to get out of danger. With a furious look, the officer vows that he will capture Nianju and make the criminal pay for everything. The next day, life in the city continues as normal, with children playing and people working at their stalls. Three men talk about a thief who broke into the place and only wanted an old boot that the officer found. The injured man on the ground named Chu Di glares at them with a look full of hatred and a glowing red eye. Meanwhile, back at the forge workshop, the atmosphere seems much calmer and more peaceful than on the city streets. An officer announces that they need men to hunt the injured criminal and offers a good reward in silver. The apprentices think that 3 silver pieces is too little to risk their lives against such a dangerous and skilled bandit. The officer says that each family needs to send 10 men, and the manager then chooses some apprentices for the mission. Our hero then accepts the manager's order without hesitation and prepares to leave with the hunting party. The officer bids the manager farewell, saying that he still needs to recruit more people in other parts of the city. With the chosen ones gathered, the manager questions why no one seems very excited about the important mission. One of the young men explains that they have only been training for a few months and that it might be too soon for such a risky task. The manager then asks if in the future their enemies will take pity on them just because they are inexperienced in combat. He then says with a serious look that to train in martial arts, it's not enough to just work hard, you must have courage. He assures them that the target is already badly injured and that they will be in the front to protect them from the greater danger. The manager then advises one of the older apprentices to be careful and look after the others during the hunt. Our hero chooses a mace for the mission, and his system analyzes it, showing that it is more for combat. With everyone ready and armed, the group prepares to set out in search of the dangerous criminal Nianju. With a determined look, the young man mentally prepares for what could be his first real battle. The group then travels to a distant and mountainous place called Faju Mountain to begin the search. In the forest, one of the group leaders gives instructions to everyone and tells someone to keep an eye on the master's horses. Inside the dense, dark forest, the search party spreads out to look for the missing criminal. The group leader gives the order for everyone to enter the mountain and search the hills before nightfall. Suddenly, a bright green flash cuts through the forest sky and startles 2 of the apprentices who were on guard. Our hero and his companion are surprised and wonder if they have already found the fugitive so quickly. In another part of the forest, Master Chulong prepares for combat with his enormous and imposing sword. In a clearing, the criminal Nianju is surrounded by several fallen men and seems to be badly hurt and exhausted. With a look of hatred and disgust, he spits a black liquid on the ground, showing how serious his condition is. With a makeshift knife, he vows that he will finish everyone who dared to cross his path in the forest. At that moment, Master Xulong leaps from the trees and attacks the wounded bandit with a powerful and precise blow. Cries of pain echo through the forest as the criminal flees desperately from his pursuer's attacks. The group leader tells everyone to spread out and search carefully so as not to fall into any traps. The criminal attacks one of the young men by surprise and knocks him to the ground with a quick and precise blow in the darkness. With his mace in hand, our hero remembers the manager's words and understands the importance of courage in combat. He then hears several cries for help and realizes that the battle against the bandit is getting uglier and uglier. The boy thinks that the target is badly injured and that he shouldn't rush so as not to take unnecessary risks. Cautiously, he sneaks through the dense vegetation of the forest, following the sounds of the fight happening nearby. Hidden, he sees the body of one of the hunters on the ground and realizes that the situation is more serious than he imagined. With a frightened look, he gulps as he sees the scene and prepares for what might come next in the hunt. Crouched behind a bush, he hears footsteps approaching and prepares for a possible direct confrontation. He then sees a man approaching a body and deciding to take the fallen man's money for himself. With a look of contempt, our hero watches the scene and thinks about the character of that group of men. The man then takes the bag of money from the fallen body on the ground without showing any kind of remorse. Suddenly, another muscular man appears and attacks the thief with a powerful punch to get the money. Our hero then recognizes the man as one of the henchmen of the fake fortune teller who surrounded him at the festival. The henchman takes the money and comments that the fallen man wasn't skilled but had a lot of cash on him. With a satisfied smile on his face, he shakes the bag of money, happy with his new acquisition. At that moment, he senses a presence and turns to attack with his sword to defend himself from the danger. Our hero then jumps from the trees with a spinning blow of his mace to attack the henchman by surprise. The blow hits the man squarely, who is unable to react in time to the boy's quick and unexpected attack. With the impact of the hit, the bag of money flies from the henchman's hand, who falls to the ground completely stunned. The young man then seizes the opportunity and takes the bag of money for himself in the midst of the confusion. He steps on the man lying on the ground to make sure he won't get up and try to fight back. The man screams in pain on the ground and wonders who the heck attacked him by surprise like that. Suddenly, the criminal Nianju appears in the trees behind our hero, observing the whole scene. The boy is out of breath and thinks that the adrenaline of the fight is much more exciting than forging in the workshop. He then looks at the money and calculates that it's worth more than 20 silver taels, a good sum for him. With a confident smile, he thinks that with his powers, a surprise attack could never have failed. He then puts the bag of money in his clothes, completely satisfied with the result of his bold plan. With his mace in hand, he stands up and wonders where the real target everyone is looking for is. Meanwhile, Nianju leans against a tree, all wounded, and vows that everyone who wants to catch him will pay. A hooded man points and says the target must be nearby, so the others prepare attack. Nianju sees them from the trees and, with a furious look, prepares to fight against the group pursuing him. With his red eye glowing with hatred, he concentrates to use all his power in the next attack. He then leaps from the trees at high speed to attack one of his pursuers in a quick and lethal manner. With a precise blow of his sword, he manages to finish the man who is hunting him without giving him a chance to defend. The impact of the blow is so strong that the man's body is thrown far away while the others watch the scene. The hooded man praises Nianju's strength even though he is injured, and the criminal is surprised by the word. With a contemptuous smile, the man says he is useless and that, if it weren't for him, he would have already been caught. The mysterious man says it doesn't matter who he is, and that Nianju must remember that he helped him and will have to repay him. He then tells the criminal to take some medicine and let him handle the rest of the ongoing hunt. The man throws a vial of medicine, and the criminal asks who he is and how he can repay the favor he received. He just says that he will find him in the future and disappears in the darkness of the forest, leaving the bandit behind. Alone, Nianju drinks the medicine and wonders who that mysterious man who helped him in the fight could be. With a thoughtful look, he assesses the situation and tries to guess the identity of his unexpected savior. He realizes that the medicine is a high-quality pill and feels reinvigorated to continue fighting. With a determined look, he says he will not run away and will face everyone who dares to hunt him. With a cry of fury, he advances through the forest, ready for combat, and vows to defeat everyone. Meanwhile, our hero thinks that with his mace and blade, not even several strong men would be a match for him. He reflects on how the surprise attacks helped him improve his fighting skills quickly. Suddenly, he hears a noise and falls to the ground, startled, ready to defend himself from a possible attack. The hunters shout that the target is there and advance on Nianju, who attacks them with his speed. The blind fortune teller is hit squarely by the surprise attack and falls to the ground with a serious wound in his chest. The man's body lies lifeless on the forest floor as the hunt continues to become more and more dangerous. Nianju looks at the body and scoffs, saying that with so little strength, they shouldn't even dream of capturing him. Hidden, our hero is surprised by the criminal's strength even though he is so injured and exhausted. The bandit then uses a strange technique to close a wound on his chest, leaving the boy shocked. With the wound almost healed, he gets up, ready to continue fighting against his pursuers. The young man is amazed by the man's regeneration ability and wonders what kind of training he has done. Suddenly, the criminal notices the boy's presence and calls him a little rat from the forge workshop for hiding. Our hero is startled at being discovered and doesn't know what to do in this dangerous situation. Without a second thought, he leaps from his hiding spot and charges at Nianju with his mace in hand. The bandit is surprised by the boy's courage, and the two face off in the middle of the forest clearing. He recognizes the white ape technique and is shocked that the young man has already mastered it so well in combat. With a determined look, our hero prepares to use all his strength in the next blow against the enemy. Nianju calls him a fool for facing him without internal energy and attacks with a blast of energy. With a quick movement, he spins his mace and manages to defend himself from the bandit's powerful energy blast. The two then exchange powerful blows in the middle of the clearing, and the young man struggles not to be defeated. The impact of the blows tears off one of Nianju's arms, who screams in pain but does not give up. The criminal then attacks the boy with a powerful kick to the face and asks if he's having fun with the fight. The two then exchange powerful blows in the middle of the clearing, and the young man struggles not to be defeated. The boy manages to block the blow and attacks the bandit with a powerful punch to the face in the middle of the fight. He then draws his hammer, and the bandit is surprised to see that the young man still has another weapon stored away. With a powerful blow from his hammer, he lands a direct hit on the criminal, who is unable to defend against the attack. The impact from the blow is so powerful that the bandit is taken down in an instant. With a tired look, the young man kneels on the ground and, with a tone of contempt, wonders if that was all. He then gets up and says that the bloody affair caused by the old boot has finally come to an end. With a sigh of relief, he thinks that now the other henchmen won't be looking for him because of this anymore. He then approaches Nianju's body and begins to search it for any valuable items. To his surprise, he finds the other pair of the boot and celebrates that he has finally gotten the complete pair. With a satisfied smile, he says that he knew he would get the boot back one way or another. He then says that it's not too much to take something in return for having saved the blind fortune teller's life in the forest. He finds a ring and puts it into his system, which identifies it as a level 1 storage item. With his new acquisitions, he leaves the fortune teller's body behind and moves away from the forest clearing. Back at the camp, he finds his older brother and lets him know that he's back from his mission. The older brother is happy to see him and runs to hug him, relieved that he is safe and sound. He asks about the others, and the young man says they must have gotten lost and should be back with the group soon. The older brother mourns the loss of the others, but accepts that if they met the bandit, it was their fate. The boy finds it strange that so many men were sent to capture a single injured man in the forest. The sun begins to rise in the forest, and the rays of light illuminate the trees with a warm, golden glow. In another part of the forest, a group of soldiers prepares for the hunt, and one of them offers to lead. With the order given, the soldiers run into the forest to begin the hunt for the fugitive criminal. A man with a large halberd stands in a clearing and seems to be waiting for someone to arrive. With a confident smile, he calls out to whoever is hiding and asks why they don't show themselves to fight. The man in armor turns and says the other's mind is like a hare, and that he cannot be fooled. He says that for a thief to hide for so long, someone must surely be helping him. Suddenly, several hooded men appear in the trees, and the warrior finds himself completely surrounded. With a furious look, he asks if they really dare fight against him there in the forest. The group leader then announces that whoever gets rid of Chu Long will be rewarded with 1,000 gold coins. Meanwhile, in an abandoned temple in the rain, the remaining apprentices wait for news of their master. The heavy rain falls on the temple roof, and of the original 12 apprentices, only 8 remain. One of them worries that the master has not yet returned and wonders if the bandit is really that strong. Our hero says that the target has already been defeated, and that the others must be using the hunt as an excuse. With a serious look, he watches the rain and thinks that a storm is coming, or perhaps it has already arrived. Near a bonfire, the young man reflects that without his weapons, he wouldn't stand a chance against the other apprentices. He bites into a piece of meat and thinks that with all his power, he could defeat any one of them. He then starts to count all the money he got and gets excited about the amount he has gathered. With his new dagger, he thinks that it should enhance his vision, and that it is a very good item for him. He then discovers a secret compartment in the boot and finds a hidden martial arts manual. With an excited smile, he realizes that the item is very valuable and understands why the bandit didn't want to leave. He reads the manual and discovers that it teaches 81 variations of a very powerful and difficult technique. Sitting in a dark corner, he holds the manual he found and reflects on everything that has happened. Sunlight streams through the broken window, illuminating the room where he is hiding and resting. He then joins his hands and concentrates to absorb the knowledge from the manual he acquired. With a confident smile, he stands up and thinks that with the new technique, his progress will be much faster. Back at the workshop, Fatty Sim greets him with concern and asks about the master who has not yet returned. The boy calms him down, saying that the master is still on the mountain and that he doesn't need to worry about anything. The cook asks if he saw the bandit, and the young man lies, saying he didn't see him but that others found him. Fatty's son becomes suspicious of the story and asks if he really didn't see anyone in the forest. The boy says goodbye, and the cook reminds him of an important meeting that will take place in 2 days. He enters a room and says that he is thirsty and needs to drink some water to cool down. With a ladle, he scoops some water from a large wooden barrel to quench his thirst. He then drinks the water straight from the ladle to cool off after the long and tiring journey in the forest. The cook asks if he bought the medicine he asked for, and the boy says he will get it for him later. Night falls, and the moon illuminates the starry sky while a cricket rests on a blade of grass. Our hero then takes one of the pills he found and prepares to use it in his secret training. He takes the pill and thinks that if he continues like this, he will be able to absorb all its power in a few days. He feels the quick effect of the medicine and thinks that it was worth the price, even if his debts increase. With a blue aura emanating from his body, he prepares for a great advancement in his power and cultivation. Suddenly, he hears someone knocking on the door and rushes to see who it is in the middle of the starry night. One of the apprentices informs him that the master has returned badly injured and is calling for him and Fatty's son. Surprised by the news, the boy wonders if the master is really as seriously injured as they said. He then runs with Fatty's son through the workshop courtyard to see what happened to their master. They find the manager sitting in a chair, completely bloodied and looking very weak. Fatty's son runs to him worried and asks how he got into such a serious and deplorable state. The other apprentice kneels and begs the master to go take care of his wounds before it's too late. With a tired look, he says that there's no point in healing anymore, as his fate is already sealed. He then opens his shirt and reveals a huge wound on his chest, leaving everyone shocked at the sight. The young man is surprised that not even a level 2 armor could protect him from the final blow. Fatty's son becomes enraged and asks who is responsible for leaving his brother-in-law in that pitiful state. The manager then reveals that it was Qiu Long himself who attacked him and left him at death's door. Everyone is shocked by the revelation and wonders how that is possible since he was gone. The master says it no longer matters who attacked him, and that he now needs to give his final instructions. He praises our hero, saying that he has talent and has a chance to join the Divine Weapon Valley. The boy asks him to stop talking and go take care of his injuries, but the master seems determined. He then hands 2 scrolls with drawings of a monkey and a serpent to our protagonist. The 2 young men are surprised to see the scrolls and recognize the drawings as a fundamental map. The boy's system analyzes the items and classifies them as level 1 maps with secret techniques. The master explains that the maps are rare treasures that can only be made by those who master a martial art. Our hero becomes thoughtful and wonders if this is the way to control the apprentices of the inner courtyard. The master then explains that the maps are only passed on to the most skilled, and that many do not receive them. The older apprentice cries upon seeing his master in that state, and the scroll falls from his hands to the floor. The master says it's still too early for them to see the maps, but the situation gives him no other choice. He then attacks the 3 of them with his sword in a final effort to test their skills before he departs. With a weak hand, he leans on the chair and seems to be on the verge of fainting at any moment. He then falls forward and tells them to remember as much as they can before losing consciousness.